Hello, and welcome back to the Review of Death, a Doctor Who podcast and your fortnightly home for Doctor Who news and reviews, now weekly because Doctor Who is back on the air. I'm joined, as always, by Billy Garratt-John. I'm Matthew Toffolo. Hello! Welcome, everybody, for another live Rod. How are we all doing?
Welcome. You are most welcome in. I was gonna keep doing a joke about checking over my shoulder, but I've just ruined it by saying that now. So, well, never mind. Yes, wow. So Doctor Who. I mean, we'll get into it. I wasn't as overwhelmingly positive, I think, as most people, but regardless, it is still like two absolutely smashing episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And it's funny, like we were having the same conversation basically this time last year about, kind of fair to middling opening, although I know everybody hates Space Babies.
Yeah.
And then like that amazing run of 3 or 4 episodes in the middle of last season. And so we've just got the finale to burst our bubble, and then we'll be back where we were.
Back where we were. Yeah, I mean, we were sort of saying, it's kind of a shame that this was not last year, that this was not the run of stories that we were getting last year to really cement, Doctor Who's future. But who knows? Let's see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I've watched it twice already. I managed to make sure that I got a second viewing in because I was like, I'll watch it the first time and take my notes. And then it was like a few minutes in, and I thought, I can't take notes and watch it at the same time. First time round, this is like I can tell this is going to be a good one that I need to pay attention for. And especially at like one point, the first point where what's that on your back, or what's that behind you happened. I like blinked and missed it, and he was like, "Oh, there was a thing." I was like, "Oh shit!" So I'm glad I've watched it twice.
Yeah, I should maybe preface my
explain why.
My claim that maybe I didn't enjoy it as much as everybody else, because I won't say exactly how I watched it, because I probably won't have a job on Monday, but I didn't watch it in the best circumstances. I still really enjoy on my phone in the dark.
Someone's banging on the door. Eric, what's going on in there? You're shitting yourself.
It's the good bit. Shut up. I didn't get the best optimal viewing experience. It wasn't on the big telly with our, sub bar and sound speaker and that kind of thing. But so I think that may have damaged my viewing experience. But I will watch it again tonight properly on the sofa, or very well behind it. And we'll take it from there. But I totally get why everybody's raving about it. But I'll blame my viewing experience on why I'm not immediately giving this a 900 out of 12.
Okay, interesting. Oh, we've got our first super chat as well. From Polish GMR says, honestly, so good, maybe better than Lux, which was already the best episode for years. And yeah, I gotta agree. I loved Lux. I think we were sort of talking about this in the car earlier on, me, Johnny, and Annie, and we were sort of saying, I loved Lux. I thought Lux was brilliant. Annie sort of said it's probably because that one was more creatively original, whereas this one felt more like a meat and potatoes Doctor Who story. And obviously the fact that it is kind of a pseudo sequel to an already incredibly good story makes it feel it doesn't have that same like originality that made me sort of go ooh like last week. But I mean, it was I still thoroughly enjoyed this week. It was so good. I think this one stands up to scrutiny more than Lux does. I think Lux is more of those moments where you're sort of like, oh, but how does that work, and what's his power, and how is he doing that, and why are there 3 nerds in a in a front room? Whereas this one, I think, is pretty solid. It's quite tight.
Yes, true. It is
as tight as those spacesuits.
As tight as a. Oh no!
Tight as shoot his ass in a latex suit.
That'll work. There you go. I was going to say my dad's Filton roots nearly made me say something terrible then, but I'll leave it. Okay, so one thing to get into before we start, a tiny bit of news, and I don't know if this is like a resoundingly like positive thing to say that Doctor Who is still popular enough that this has become a thing. I don't know if you saw that there's some classic Who that's going to be airing
Yeah.
on TV, starting from Monday the 5th of May at 5:30, UK TV channel. And I couldn't believe this was an actual name for a TV channel. A lot has changed since I left. You and Eden.
Never heard of it.
Fucking Christ knows. Will begin
It
broadcasting
sounds like
classic
it
Doctor
could be a
Who.
religious TV channel with
Yeah,
Eden in it.
if you get converted partway through,
Not into a
Inferno, then
Cyberman, but
no,
or
into a
into
religious zealot, then
yeah.
don't blame us for this. But yeah, they're going to start broadcasting classic Who, starting with Spearhead from Space from Monday the 5th of May, and then the run will continue with 4 episodes a night airing across subsequent weekends, which is really cool.
Very cool. That's really good. It's lovely, isn't it, to hear that Doctor Who's back on the telly, like old Doctor Who
Well,
repeats, because it was
it's
like
back on UK TV, like
yeah.
it should be.
Yeah, I don't know, why did they stop? Mad. It seemed very weird that all that stopped when it came back on telly proper. Do you know what I mean? It was
There may have been an edict, because it
yeah,
might have
I
been
guess.
like, not to say that he literally said poison the well, but like Russell and the production team might have gone, that it's just going to be far too complicated if we just like throw all of
Yeah.
this stuff at people at once. Maybe we should just introduce people to the show, and then you can have your ratings winner back. But
Yeah.
interesting, yeah, that they just had enough sway. I wonder when the last repeat of that UK TV repeat run was. If it was
Yeah.
like maybe weeks
Oh,
beforehand, or if it was already off for a year.
we've got it in the chat. CJFS says the last time it was on UK TV was when they showed Doctor Who Series 2 repeats in 2016. And that was
Wow.
modern Doctor Who, Series 2.
Yeah.
Like for classic stuff.
I remember
It's interesting.
you pop on to like, it was called Watch, wasn't it? That was the
Yeah,
old,
I remember that channel. Yeah.
and they used to do that. They used to do repeats. They did repeats for the 50th anniversary on Sci-Fi,
Yes.
didn't they?
Yeah,
There's
that rings a bell.
Tom Baker narrated trailer.
Yeah.
And they did a run there. But I want to know if it was there like, there must have been a gap between Watch airing's new series repeats and the classic repeats of like, 5 o'clock in the morning, putting on the blank VHS tape thing.
Yeah. Oh, they should go back to that. I mean, we're getting there. I mean, it's 8 o'clock in the morning over here, so a couple of hours earlier. Fine.
Yeah.
Why not?
You and Johnny down there in your pajamas.
In your pajamas,
Johnny
yeah.
Fiercely pausing and rewinding, going, "Can you see his silver chain? He's not wearing his silver chain at this episode."
Yeah.
That goes down in the Notebook.
Yeah, exactly how it went. Exactly how it went.
Love it.
We've had a couple of more super chats. Will Newlands has said, "Is it safe to say we're back, Alice carried today?" Well, I think so. I mean, certainly we've had 2 good episodes. And Dalek Seth says, "Hi guys, sorry I can't stay long. I really enjoyed it. Doctor Who needs to do more horror." Yeah, we've been saying this for ages. This should have been series 14. Loved the alien references. Yeah, I mean that was it, wasn't it? It was very aliens.
Yeah,
it was very much
and the Thing as well.
And the Thing, yeah.
It seems to have been held under a review embargo, because before it went out, I was trying to find even previews by like the Telegraph or the Guardian or whatever, or the Radio Times, but it was all just sort of, well, the Radio Times and Doctor Who aggregator website sort of parroting the promotional lines, like it's dark and it's terrifying and all this sort of stuff. And so obviously Russell, prior to this series going out, said if there's any episodes you should watch live and try not to be spoiled by, it's episode 3 and 6.
Yeah.
And I guess they'll be for different reasons. This is obviously because he doesn't want Doctor Who fans to have it spoiled that it's a sequel to Midnight.
Yeah.
But part of me thought maybe there's a big storyline revelation for series 15, and there was a sort of advancement of the whole 24th of May, why they can't get back to Earth thing, which we'll cover, and obviously Mrs. Flood popping up at the end.
Yeah. Doing a Susan twist.
Which again,
it feels odd, doesn't it? It feels so weird.
It feels like this is either Doctor Who doing meta,
Yeah.
And going like, isn't this funny that we saw this exact same thing last year? A bit like with the Doctor and Belinda changing outfits.
Yeah.
That history's repeating itself, but I don't trust that it's that
No.
clever. I
No.
think it's just we've just had two geriatric mystery box characters 2 years in a row. I don't think there's anything to it beyond maybe, I don't want to
Yeah.
say laziness, but just it retreading the exact same old ground.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if we'll get a line in the finale, like, oh, when it's all revealed, he's like, oh, I saw what that Susan Twist was doing. I thought I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, that's quite useful. And also, just like her, my name is an anagram that isn't actually an anagram at all. It's
Yeah.
as much of an anagram as River Song is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into that stuff. So
we've had another super chat before we get stuck in proper. I'm gonna butcher this. Sorry. The Beamed Double D19, the Beamed 19. Thank you for the super chat. Says was very risky to do a sequel to Midnight. If done wrong, it could have tainted the original story, but possibly Shooty's best story and performance. And
I agree with the performance point 100%.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was really, really good.
He's really hitting his stride, isn't he?
He really is. Like these last two stories, watching it, I've been like, yeah, okay, I can see your Doctor a lot clearer now, which is great, But again, it's a shame that next week we've got a Dr. Light story, so we're not going to see much of him in it. And obviously we haven't got many stories left before the end of the series, and could be it for him, which would be kind of a shame. I'm like, these last two, I've been like, oh, if he goes at the end, that's going to be a bit of a
anticlimax.
Really going to be sad.
I was looking at the episode listings on a website that kind of pulls together lots of different Doctor Who photo references, and it's a bit like clicking onto Sylve's episode listing where you go, oh my god, he did like a handful of TV stories, like compared to everybody else. It's such a truncated list of episodes. And I was like, it's going to be a real shame if it looks like that come the end of this series and we move on and somebody else comes along, particularly because either he's more comfortable in the role and sort of understands how to balance the light with the dark a bit more, or if Russell is actually just feeding him better material.
It's hard to say.
Probably a mixture of both, to be fair. But
he seems to be, I think sort of last year sort of felt more, I don't know, it was very broad strokes, I think, and we always, we all took the piss out of him crying at every little thing and stuff. But like today, he cried in today's episode, and those tears felt earned, it
didn't necessarily, like we've been complaining about, thinking when something big does happen, it's gonna be such a like letdown that it's not gonna feel as emotionally earned. But in fairness, it didn't actually detract too much, because I guess that proves how good a performer that he is, that you can tell the difference between him blubbing over somebody we met 3 seconds ago. And I still think that's a cheap way of trying to get the audience to kind of feel something for them, but at the same time it goes to show what level of performer he is, and the different levels to his emotional responses, that felt different, that reaction, and it still had the same it still had an emotional resonance.
And it was good, wasn't it, that he didn't, like, when all the Marines are murdered, he's not like in floods of tears about it,
he held it together. The world's most dehydrated man. He's withered and he had no tear ducts left.
Well, before we get into it, we've had a few more super chats. Thank you, everybody. Midwinter Make says, if it was a clock face, you die at midnight. Feels like this should have been the moment 15 clicked the pieces together, as opposed to being told explicitly what the planet name was. Otherwise, 8 out of 10. Yeah, I did kind of feel like that. I mean, I was like, oh, but I did sort of feel like, I guess, is that a bit too far, like trying to make too many connections to midnight? Do you know what I mean? The Pandorica opens, adds scariest episode since The Waters of Mars. More horror, please. Yeah, totally. Everyone's thinking the same thing. And then Polished GMR says, again with another super chat, that the Mrs. Flood reveal needs to be an absolute cracker of a reveal to not feel like a waste of screen time. Thankfully, the last 2 episodes haven't included her much, so they won't be tainted if so. Yeah, it's not going to be like, the Susan Twist stuff where, there was such a big build up to that and it was like, oh, okay.
Are you my
so
granddaughter? No. Okay. But I am.
Why would you think that?
Huge baddie.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know which I prefer, actually. No.
Yeah.
But okay. Anyway, let's get into it.
Let's go.
Thank you, everybody, for your super chats, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I like the fact that this takes place immediately after Lux as well.
Yes.
So they're still in their 50s Miami garb.
Yeah. It's doing that Flux thing that we talked about last year where we were like, it needs to be more of a continuation, I think. And it works.
And that's really cool. It works really well. And it's nice to see that they are striving for something, I think, more bingeable. I think it gives that sense to it, doesn't it? That it's very just flowing one after the other. I wonder if we will have, because obviously this is a Dr. Light episode next, if this is where the gap that Big Finish can chisel in, 36,000 stories for Belinda and Doctor will appear.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got a flashback to last season next week. So it would make sense if this is the one where we're like, okay, so a bit of time has passed. They're still trying. They've had a couple of adventures in between.
Yeah.
But so the Doctor promises to get Belinda home. They land 500,000 years in the future and leave the TARDIS to take another reading on the Vindicator, which apparently Mrs. Flood has some interest in. A working Vindicator, she sort of mentioned specifically, didn't she?
Yeah. So she's aware of like time lordiness. Could that be a clue as to who she is? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Tap the nose.
So we had Toxic playing this time. Little callback to the End of the World. But this is my only real major criticism with this story is how in the name of fuck did they manage to put on the exact same costumes the rest of the people were wearing? And there just happened to be 2 helmets waiting for them.
Let's say that when the Doctor saw what year it was on the TARDIS scanner, he went, because they've always dressed appropriately for the time period.
Yeah.
He's like, right, we need a breathable bit of gear.
Yeah.
What was the fashion of 500,000 years in the future? Because if they've managed to slip into costumes that reflect the time period in the past, there's no reason why the future should be any different.
Yeah.
But I guess because you are teaming up with like a military operation, and usually armies have like bespoke outfits for them, it does sort of leap out at you. But I will buy that it was just an incredible get a bit of chance that they were all wearing the same standard issue, outfit.
I feel like it should have been a bit of like a Wallace and Gromit job, that before they jumped off the thing, they went in their spacesuits and they just came out and they got like pushed in like Bernard Cribbins with the Robomen in Dalek Invasion of Earth, and then they just fall down a thing, get stuck in the costume, and then that's it. They're just part of the machine, as it were. But yeah, that was weird. I was like, hang on a minute, come on. But I think that's my only gripe, which is pretty good.
I mean,
as criticisms go.
We've survived the Aggie part of the review. Now it's all up from here.
Yeah, it's all good.
So the team land on the planet's surface. The Doctor sets up the Vindicator. They're held at gunpoint. He does the psychic paper
routine. Yeah. There's a really nice piano version of the Doctor's theme, like the old
15.
No, like the old do 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 do. There's that on the piano, or just a subtle bit of it, and I was like, oh, that's nice. And I wonder if that is sort of meant as a bit of like an initial callback to the fact that this is going to be connected to the 10th Doctor story.
Maybe
it's the same planet. Don't know, but it was. Each time I watched it, I went, ooh.
Here's a classic bit of you can't have it both ways. Doctor Who fan brained miasma, negativity. Obviously, one of the more frustrating parts of watching classic Doctor Who, because you've got to fill 4 episodes, is the I'm trustworthy. No, you're not. Okay, but I'm like actively proving that I'm trustworthy and I'm helping you all. Okay, but we still think you're the one that's been killing everybody, or we
Yeah,
still think you're the suspicious one, doctor and friend, even though
yeah,
you know nothing about what's going on here. And then it's not until part three where the allies kind of go, all right, you're okay. We'll all team up and we'll believe you now.
yeah.
Um, I'm glad that that was sort of dispensed with the
Yes.
psychic paper and him saying I'm above you, and then also that later on that still isn't enough for the Doctor to get his own way and
Yeah.
assume continued control over this group. But at a certain point, I did think the troop leader was a little bit like of a pushover.
Yeah,
In
I know what you
like,
mean.
you know, you have just literally met this bloke, and it's not even that she was questioning his credentials every so often. It was just absolute. No, no, no. This guy's
He's
legit.
legit, yeah.
You can't possibly know that, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and so I was totally on Cassio's side when he assumes control and he's like, "This is ridiculous. Why are we fucking listening to this
Yeah.
bloke?"
Who's he?
It
Who's he?
actually, yeah, it made sense at least. You know, it was like, yeah, I can totally see why you're getting pissed off at this situation.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they are shown this colony base, the Doctor and Belinda, and there's this whole thing about, you know, it's going to take 5 hours for
Yeah.
the TARDIS to get to us,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty neat.
It's great, isn't it? That, you know, it sets it up really well that, okay, there's no way out of this situation. You're stuck there. And I'm surprised they never sort of called back to that more. I'm surprised there wasn't more of like a, oh fuck, we're stuck here. What are we gonna do? You know, the ship's not gonna be back for another 3 hours or however
Hmm.
long's left. But yeah, I mean, I think all the stuff on the planet's surface, like visually, looked amazing. Like all the CGI
Hmm.
was really, really good. And again, it was just really solid design work, I think, for this story. As soon as they go into the base and they start seeing all the corpses, which I thought was, you know, for modern Doctor Who,
Yes,
quite
yeah,
surprising. You
quite.
know, like seeing like a man's dead bare feet like sticking out of a doorway.
Yeah,
It was like,
and
oh, okay, that feels very real.
they weren't mannequins either.
And they weren't mannequins either. But with the bodies and like them going up and being like, oh, this one's neck's broken. Oh, this one's been shot. Oh, da, da, da. And like the industrial sort of grungy feel of the place just made me feel of think about Red Dwarf with the
Yeah.
despair squid. I just
Oh,
wanted,
yeah, true.
all I could think of was like, if he committed suicide and he committed suicide and this fish committed suicide, there's something going on.
Some kind of
here.
connection here.
Yeah.
Can't quite put my finger on.
Yeah. Oh god.
Either that or Belinda goes over and checks each body and goes, "He's dead, Dave."
He's dead. Yeah.
What? Chen? He's dead, Dave. Selby? He's dead, Dave. I did think as well when we get a shot of the not the airlock, but like the door to the airlock room opening, and one of the troopers has sort of got in ahead.
Yeah.
There was like a kind of emergency door opening sign above the door,
Yeah.
and I thought, because one of the other rumors, if it wasn't going to be a sequel to Midnight, was that it was going to be a sequel to Satan Pit.
Yeah.
I thought that door setup looked very sanctuary based.
It is
So
very similar,
for
isn't it? Yeah.
a second, I was sort of like, oh, maybe it's a double swerve, but
Yeah.
alas, no, it wasn't.
I couldn't imagine them sort of doing. We've just had a story with the embodiment of death, and then being like, "Oh, let's have the devil come back." I think they'd be too similar.
In theory,
and
he's one of the Pantheon, isn't he?
who the devil is he?
Beast.
The beast is he? What? Oh yes, he gets mentioned, didn't he? Didn't he get mentioned? Yeah.
I think he does. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame because I always sort of kind of like the idea that he was like a facet of Sutek because they had the same voice actor.
They have the same voice actor. Yeah, maybe. So they wander around all these bunks, and Belinda keeps going into them, going, "Fuck, it fucking stinks in here,"
Yeah.
because you've got all these bloating corpses lying around.
Yeah.
And
all of Lister's sugar puff and vindaloo sandwiches.
all of his vindaloo smeared undergarments.
Yeah.
And yeah, even the bunks were very.
It was very red. I said as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
dwarf."
And even actually thinking about it, the room where the well was in reminded me a lot of the enormous cargo bays that you see in
Back to Earth. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, weird. So Anyway, they
And it's a
they see
mine.
that all
It's
the
the mining ship, Red Dwarf. Ah, come on, we've cracked the code.
this is the Red Dwarf
Yeah,
sequel.
yeah,
All we needed was like a London Jets poster in the
yeah,
background or something, or
yeah.
um, what was it? Crocheting, stippling, a DIY guide on VHS in the corner. Um, so all the windows have been smashed, or the mirrors,
All the
sorry, have been
mirrors, yeah,
smashed in the thing, which I thought they'd play up on a little bit more. Obviously, there's the Mercury
yeah,
thing at the end, but even that I thought was sort of underplayed a little bit, because I thought they were doing it in order to see what it was,
right,
not specifically to release Alice from it. I thought that it was like, if Mercury, we can see what it looks like, or it will see itself.
yeah,
And so I thought that meant that we were going to see something. But I'm glad they. We'll get into it later. But I'm glad that we didn't see
yeah.
any more than we were presented with.
This is it. I think, like as someone said earlier on, I think, this was the story that doing a sequel to it could have been a major balls up, and could have potentially cocked up the original.
Yeah, in retrospect.
In retrospect. Kind of like they did last year with Empire of Death, which has sort of retroactively made you think, oh, every time I watch Pyramids of Mars, I'm going to now think, oh, God, they brought him back.
Or maybe the better analogy is the Weeping Angels.
Yes.
Because much like with this, we get like a new element, like a new wrinkle
Yeah.
Of threat onto the Midnight Beast.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't take away from it. But then we got that with the Series 5 Angels two-parter, where we had the image of an angel becomes itself an angel, which is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But then they cock it up by seeing them moving at the end.
Yeah. And then you're like, maybe they are literally just stone things rather than like creatures, which is what I always imagined they were.
Exactly.
But, yeah, shame really. So I mean, I'm so glad that this managed to avoid that, and it stands on its own as being a really good story and doesn't infringe upon the original, which is obviously superb story. We've had another super chat again from Polished GMR, who says, I don't think the Beast is directly called a member of the Pantheon, but people think Reprobate, the god of spite, is meant to be him. Don't particularly agree with that read myself, to be honest. Interesting. Okay.
There
we are.
Good to know.
Good to know. Proper clarification from people who understand things. Unlike us, who don't listen.
People who are actually listening and not watching this at work and furiously scribbling notes down while also trying to do their job. So, yeah, half the bodies that they find have been laser blasted to death. Half of them have had their necks / everything broken.
Yeah.
There's a single heartbeat registered. And we find Alice, played by Rose Ayling-Ellis, who was fantastic.
She was brilliant.
Really,
what?
good.
I thought all of the supporting casts in this story were really, really good. And I thought all the characters were really good, because Johnny was saying to me when we watched it the second time, the girl who... Mo's the girl that helps
she was good.
Belinda. She was really great. And I sort of said to Johnny, I was like, that is one of those characters that on paper could be a bit boring and you could just be like, oh, okay, whatever, But she managed to give it like that little bit of charm, a bit of twinkle in her performance that made you sort of think, oh, she's nice. And I think the same for sort of all of them, really.
All of them did, yeah. There were only maybe, how many? There were supposed to be 13 of them. So half were like kind of non-speaking extra roles, basically. Yeah. But the ones that were there front and center all played their job really well. And like you say, it's a bit of a thankless role in the same way that any other grunt with a gun in Doctor Who in a base under siege, where you're just going to get picked off one by one, tends to be. Yeah. But yeah, they all played it brilliantly. I thought they were all great.
Yeah. And obviously, like Cassio, he was the very traditional archetypal character of these stories, where there's always one of them that never trusts the Doctor and always thinks the Doctor's a dickhead or is behind it or whatever. Yeah. So again, another sort of thankless task. There's only so many ways you can play it, and that's really there's only one way you can play it, to be honest. So, but he did it good. He did it good. But Rose Ayling-Ellis was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
And I loved the subtitle
Yeah,
devices.
really cool. Very clever.
They were really cool.
Yeah.
The Doctor signing to her, um, like behind everybody's backs.
Yeah.
So he's immediately got like a separate report. I
Yeah.
like the line about her saying to Belinda, it's illegal for you to be a healthcare professional and not know sign language.
Yeah.
Was an interesting one because I think Russell said he was given a note by the like compliance team when they did a first reading of the episode, and he said something like, naturally they gave you a list of things that you got wrong, which is how it should work.
Right.
But one of the notes he got back was, I've never seen that line ever spoken in it was something to do with deafness. I don't know if anybody knows what that line was, but I wonder if it was everybody in the healthcare profession should be learning how to sign, or
Yeah.
something like that, you know.
Yeah.
He was giving himself a nice pat on the back there. Well done, Russell, for being
Yeah.
such a good boy.
Boomers are deaf. Was that the line?
I think so.
Yeah, that was good. And there was another bit that I really liked was before the Doctor goes off to the control room, and they've sort of thoroughly talked to Alice, and he sort of says to Belinda, Belinda's going to stay with you, it's going to be fine. And then he says to Belinda, sort of on the sly, be careful with her, just in case. Yeah. And Alice is like, yeah, I can still lip read. And then the Doctor sort of signs, or sorry. But it's, a fun little moment.
And then she has, as the Doctor goes off, she has her downstage mustache twirling moment for herself, that she knows something's up. So just to reinforce that she may not be the big bad, but she knows more than she's letting on. That could be trouble, was really cool.
And I think that was the other thing. I know I said I only had one criticism, but it's not really a criticism, but it was just one thing that I thought, well, maybe this was an element that was missing that obviously we got in Midnight, and maybe that's why they didn't do it, was that in Midnight, Sky's character becomes thoroughly possessed by this entity, this creature, to the point where she becomes this very malevolent figure, and she's she's so vile. But we didn't get that this time round. Everyone was just who they said they were, and this thing was just latched onto them. And the thing that I sort of connected it to was It Follows. Have you seen that horror film, It Follows?
No, but I know the premise, and I did think of it when I was watching this.
Yeah, so as soon as she was like, well, as soon as if you kill me, it will jump onto you. It was like, oh yeah, that's very much like that. It's like, you fuck me, you get it, sort of thing. But
what, an STD?
Yeah.
A terrible rash you can't shift. Maybe the monster is, I know people in the comments have been saying that in the credits the Midnight Monster is credited as It Has No Name, which is quite cool, but maybe we should call it The Clap in that case. Once you get it, you can't shift it. So the Doctor goes to check in the central control room where the well is. Belle stays with Alice, who has her sussy, shifty eye dog from the Simpsons moment.
Yeah.
The Doctor inspects the well, which runs 5 miles deep below the surface. There's all these conversations about radiation, and the Doctor's kind of thinking maybe that's what drove everybody mad, which is quite a nice sort of swerve of attention. Then we start getting all these lines about the soldiers having never heard of Earth and the human race.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. So obviously something has happened on the 24th of May.
Yeah. It's not only Doctor Who that's been cancelled, the Earth has been cancelled.
The Earth has been entirely cancelled.
If Doctor Who can't continue, I feel like this is what Ian Levine would do if he had like control of the nuclear buttons. He'd be like, if Doctor Who's going to get cancelled, I'll blow us all as Kingdom Come. Yeah,
but then nobody would be able to watch his terrible AI reconstructions.
Oh, true. Thank God. Press that button.
Please. Yeah. I had 2 emails in my inbox today from Mr. Levine. Let me see what came through. Slip Back Part 3 and Gallifrey Part 5 came through today. There's at least 2 of these AI reconstructions appearing in my inbox per day. I don't know. I mean, I know how they're being made, and it's practically a sweatshop. But is that libel? He probably would say that is libel. It's not literally a sweatshop.
Did you not have to pay
Anyway.
like put all your life savings down to be able to watch these things?
Unbelievably, no. Somehow, I mean, they're all just unlisted YouTube links,
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
um
Anyway,
right. So,
and I also liked there's a nice bit of setup here. This is one of the good things about the story, is that everything was set up for stuff that happened later on. And Shia, the was it Shia or Shia? The Irish lady, the main commander lady,
yeah.
She has that moment where they're trying to get into the computers and she's like, oh, it's dead bolted. And she goes to shoot it. The doctor's like, whoa, careful now. But she's like dead eye with a gun.
I'm the fastest gun in the West. Pew pew.
Exactly, yeah. And so it was a nice little foreshadowing for what was coming up later on.
That was so fucking Star Wars.
What?
I've been shooting womp rats
on my ranch since
1847. Fucking hell. So I saw.
I'm very impressed you know what a womp rat is.
Yeah, every now and again something will come out and I'm like, oh, that's Star Wars, isn't it? I had no idea.
Yeah, that is. Wow, interesting. Okay.
We'll get round to it one day. We'll do a Star Wars one day.
Oh my god, people will go bonkers if we did Star Wars. They love it.
Yeah, there you go.
Coming soon to Patreon.
Start
with the prequels. Speaking of, that's a very good segue. Sorry, everybody. I know what you're all going to be thinking. Where's Jonathan? He's only gone and taken his son to see Star Wars Revenge of the Sith at the cinema. I was invited, but of course, no, I have work to do. I had to chill out with you guys talking about Doctor Who. So I've seen.
He'd much rather be watching Revenge of the Sith at the cinema.
I've seen it a million bloody times. Oh, I could quote it verbatim, basically.
Star Wars Christmas special for Patreon this Christmas.
Should do. Well, Star Wars holiday special. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I don't think I've ever sat through it all the way.
I think Stella and I have got 20-30 minutes into it, something like that.
Yeah, it's not enough.
I think just around the time that Luke Skywalker pops up.
Not enough in the world to help you process what's going on.
No, there wasn't.
Or booze.
There wasn't. So yes, I wonder the 24th of May thing. I saw some people pointing out that there's like a through line from last season that a lot of nuclear war keeps getting mentioned and keeps being brought up. So I wonder if, because there's the atom bomb last week in Lux.
Yeah.
There's the what's his name? Twink Farage from last year.
William.
Ap William. Yeah.
William. I always think of William Doyle. I don't know what.
Good old Bill Doyle.
Yeah.
So there's Bill Doyle last year. He was talking about wanting access codes to nukes or something. And I'm sure there was something in maybe one or two other episodes last year. So maybe somebody's pressed the button at once and bang, it's all
everybody up. I just spotted a really interesting comment in the chat from the Evil Dalek. The theory I have is that the initial script by Sharma Angel Wolfall had an original villain, but the similarities between Midnight led to Russell T Davies adding the Midnight entities, hence the dual credit. That's interesting. So I had heard that it wasn't originally planned to be a sequel to Midnight, and that sort of came later. So it's interesting to see that. But yeah, what a cracking bloody script. Everything we were sort of saying last year is like, oh god, wouldn't it be nice to hear some new voices? And although this ended up being a sequel to a very good story, as it was. This even without the Midnight connection, this would have been a cracker.
Agreed. And also considering the fact that
get
there
Sharma
were
back
4-5 sets, it was very talky.
Yeah.
And it sustained itself. I think that's also one of the reasons it might have felt like a kind of a throwback classic episode, besides the fact that it's based under siege.
Yeah.
And it's like high concept sci-fi monster.
Yeah.
It was very talky. So maybe that was what led it to kind of having a bit of a classic series badge.
Yeah.
On it. But yeah, Sharma Angel Wolfall, we'd have you back in a heartbeat. That was fantastic. So then we get our first glimpse of the monster.
Yeah.
So this is a bit like watching Ghost Watch again on Patreon. I noticed maybe there's one very, very clear one. The clearest view you get of the thing is the first jump scare.
Right. The one that I missed.
The one that you missed, yeah. That's the clearest view you get of it. Then there's, I think maybe one or two others. The best one, I think, was when they're in the airlock, outside the airlock towards the end.
Yeah.
Belle is obviously when it sinks in and you realize she's the one that's got it attached to her.
Yeah.
You don't even really see it like it was even planned to be in shot. Obviously it was.
Yeah.
But in the gap between the back of her bun and her shoulder, there's a splodge of black in the background that just shifts out of the way. I thought that was so creepy. And maybe there's more than I noticed.
Yeah.
Maybe it is going to be like kind of Ghostwatch, and people are suddenly for the next like 15 years going to be start going, oh my god, it was there the whole time, or whatever it was.
And I think even that bit when it eventually separates from Alice and the Doctor turns back and he's like, I must see it. Which is such a Doctor thing to do, isn't it? Like, I'll endanger everybody. I got to look at this thing. And then you just get those low shots in the shadow, and you can just see a shape, and you're like, oh, is that an arm? Is that a claw? What is that? And it's just so vague.
Hunched over in the corner.
Yeah,
I saw like a head on like a really long spindly neck. Kind of craning over to look at them. But it was so cool.
It sort of reminded me of like the monster from Hyde, but it was more vague than that, which is good.
It looked like it was just a monster of like malice and like nastiness and contempt. You know what I mean? It's got that sort of. I mean, actually, when you're looking at it,
nothing like Donald Trump.
It kind of looks like a gimp mask when you look at it up close, but just awesome. So then we start having the troopers picked off one by one, and this is probably the only negative I have. Is I thought people getting flung around like they were babies on those bouncing cradles was a bit fucking daft.
Right.
I thought that was silly, and I wish that, because breaking somebody's neck is such like a visceral thing, and it's everybody understands what that's shorthand for visually, and it's not too. I mean, we've had grosser deaths even in the last year of Doctor Who with Ricky September getting the dot going through his forehead. So I think I would have preferred if people were because you have that really cool shot where the camera sort of comes round and equals that line through Alice and the trooper. As soon as he disappears behind her, then he gets flung up. I'd have loved it if you just cut to the reverse angle and you've just got this out of focus body in the foreground, and you just hear a snap and it drops.
Yeah,
I think that would have been nastier.
Yeah, because
the flinging just seemed a bit like silly to me.
I think I know exactly what you mean, and I think the bit that got me was maybe less the flinging, but it was like the shot of their reaction before they were flung, like oh no, and they like got shot into the air. I think it could have been.
Just put one of those Tom and Jerry. What?
Yeah, like a doing. I'm sort of thinking back to Empress of Mars. The way that when the Ice Warriors kill people in that, and they obviously try and hark back to the old way that the picture would distort when someone was shot, and in doing that they had the human form like crumple into a cube. Maybe it could have been something like that. Maybe it should have just been like because they say that all of the bones in the body have basically been broken. Maybe it should have just been like they were just like forcefully
liquefied,
just crumpled down, or like really sort of like flung into things, rather than just let's throw you in the air and you just fall. And
well, you've got the well, and you've got the whole idea that they're drilling like 5 miles down. What if like there was the kind of gravity pulls
them down
from the inside, and then you just get like liquefied into the floor? That would have been awesome. Anyway, but I thought the fucking Cirque du Soleil was so silly. It did sort of take me out of it a little, because you're just waiting for it to happen, and then when it does, it's like, oh, there you go. And
so it was cool though. It was cool like how many people just got like absolutely fucking murdered in like quick
Yes.
succession. And then for the commanding officer, like, I thought she was just going to shoot the guy. I thought she was going to be like,
Yeah.
this guy is out of control, I'll shoot him. No, she's
I
like,
thought that was really clever, the way that she got her to
yeah.
turn 180 degrees and then
And
off he
just
goes.
kill him in the most horrible way possible. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, nice, all right, well
That'll
done.
learn you.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I thought that the blocking of it was really clever as well, because you probably, when they got this and they were doing the tone meeting and they were doing, read throughs and stuff, you can imagine directors and the camera team was going like, oh, right, so we just got to make sure that there's nothing behind her when that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So the set has got to be designed in such a way, and all of our blocking has to be done, and the actors' positions has to be worked out meticulously beforehand. But all of that effort came out on screen, and it works really, really well. And it, like we were saying before about the angels and the image of an angel itself becoming an angel, this was like a really cool addition to what the Midnight Monster can do, and makes it even more powerful. And like, I think it's a shame you didn't get quite the same psychological horror element that you got with Midnight, but then you couldn't just do a retread.
No.
And I think probably that does speak evidentially to the fact it was supposed to be a completely different monster.
Yeah.
But also it just adds to its arsenal of things it can do to fuck people up. So really, really cool. And It's Behind You is like such a great Doctor Who playground buzzword. It's such a great line that kids can, I mean, not that there's any kids watching, but that they could, in theory, repeat each other in the playground. We haven't even talked about the midnight reveal yet. What did you think of the moment? It was very Sue Tech, wasn't it? The way that it was built up in the music.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But I think it was done well, and like having the little flashback to Tennant and Sky Silvestri. Did she get residuals for that little? Did they both get residuals? Yeah. And then of course the return of the music. That theme from Midnight coming back was also a nice touch. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. But I can understand what was said earlier on about maybe what Midwinter Make said about maybe when he had the midnight clock face idea, maybe that could have been a good trigger for it.
Maybe.
But it was great.
I think at least this, obviously taking the personal grievance of you ruined Sutek out of it, I think having a flashback like this, which was delivered in a very similar manner to the flashbacks from last year's finale to Pyramids of Mars. At least this is recent history, and it's a Doctor that even younger viewers will go, I know him. I mean, he was only in it 2 years ago anyway, but I know that, that all kind of tallies and makes sense. But man, all the AI upscaling in the world cannot take away that crusty standard definition. Like, okay, you've just turned the sharpness up by 15% to try and make it look less soft. That happened in those clips, particularly around Sky's eyes. You could really see like, whoa, that's from 2008, that footage.
Yeah, I guess it kind of works because it's like grainy old flashback. You can sort of get away with it. I know what you mean.
If you put like a dark enough vignette around the image, then you can kind of hide half the picture.
But I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. God, wouldn't it have been nice if this had gone out without the midnight thing leaking? It was such a shame that leaked, because I think, God, that would have been such a good reveal for everyone to be like, ooh!
It was a nice idea to sneak that clock into the episode title animation. But I think knowing that things are going to leak, even if the whole picture doesn't emerge, but we tend to know what's happening Doctor Who week to week now. There are enough leaks happening that even in the week, something new will come out that they obviously don't necessarily intend to be the case. So adding that clock was maybe just pushing it a little too much, because then it gave credence to that spoiler.
That was,
and then it wouldn't have necessarily, maybe it was just a bit too on the nose, because Doctor Who fans, they know they're going to be analysing every single panel of that. So, I don't know what else they could have done to hint at it, but it did slightly spoil it, I suppose, in the end.
Yeah. We've just had another super chat from Robert Mead, who says, "I love the fact that you can see the creature has already done similar learning that it did in Midnight by the guy who was repeating the head miner on CCTV."
Oh yeah, he kept saying, "We don't know
He
what it
kept
is.
saying,
We don't know
yeah,
what it is. We don't know what it is."
yeah, clever. Hadn't spotted
Yeah.
that. Yeah, thank you, Robert. Thank you.
So the Doctor. Oh, a nice line from Alice. Please don't turn your back on me, which is a nice sort of double meaning.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess triple meaning as well, because A, she can't hear what people are saying. Don't leave me, and also there's a thing behind me. So it's a nice little bit of wordplay there.
Yeah.
So the Doctor
Also, speaking of
addresses-
nice lines, I love the bit at the beginning with Belinda saying, "We're like mystery shoppers." I thought that was a fun little gag.
A nice bit.
Yeah.
So the Doctor addresses the thing, asks what it is. They all hear whispers. Alice has only survived because she can't hear it.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is a better line if there was more of that original kind of midnight copying thing going on in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, because otherwise, what's it telling you otherwise?
It reminds me of another horror film that I've seen called Pontypool. Have you heard?
No.
Which is about, now if I remember rightly, it's been a long time since I saw it, and I didn't really think much of it, but it was something like zombieism is passed as an infection through sound, and a piece of sound is like played on the radio or something, and then everyone starts turning. And I was like, oh, it's going to be like that, and people are going to start hearing this noise, and they're all going to become infected with it. Obviously, it didn't go down that route, but I can see what you're sort of saying. That, yeah, shame it didn't sort of, again, lean into some of those. There were things put in it that you were like, oh, you could have gone into that a bit further.
Yeah, I can see why people were saying maybe this needed to be a two-parter, because the characters and the performances were there to sustain
for sure.
it from a performance perspective, and obviously there was so much more they could have done with the monster and with people being locked down, and it didn't have that same psychological horror element, which is why I think people maybe feel let down with it being a sequel, because it was never going to hold a candle to Midnight anyway. It had to do something different.
Yeah.
But I think that's maybe where there's been a disconnect for a few people, that it wasn't psychological horror. It was more just a paint by numbers, Doctor Who action scrap with this returning villain. But anyway, so there's that great bit where the Doctor, I guess he sees it.
Yeah.
And is listening to it, and it knows his name, and it's talking to him. I'm glad that we didn't get it knows my name, but you're the Doctor. No, my real name. I'm glad we didn't get one of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Which was good. Then he has one of those classic, okay, Shooty, here's your audition piece. You've had a brainwave, and you're going to reel off all this techno babble.
Yeah.
And he starts going around, and his hands are going, oh yeah, it's the thing, and it's the thing. And then we do the thing, and we put the thing in. He has one of those Doctor moments.
Yeah.
And
his theme starts amping up.
His theme starts playing in the background, which seemed a little bit incongruous to me. It seemed a little bit like, oh, all right, we'll play it down a little bit. We're still trying to
I know what you
make
mean.
this a tense moment.
Yeah.
All
that stuff with the Mercury. All the stuff with the Mercury.
I think it was a cool idea, but they'd all be dead firstly, wouldn't they? They'd all have had mercury poisoning by being around it, or
oh yeah, I guess so, maybe.
I don't know.
Well, my thought, our thought when we watched it this morning, when it was like, oh, it smashed all the mirrors because it didn't want to see its reflection. We were like, oh my god, what do you defeat with mirrors that is a big pantheon god, the Mara? And we were like, fuck me, is this going to be like a Mara thing? And we were like, oh yeah, it could kind of work, because it's all about being inside your head, and the dark places of the inside. And we were like, God, that'd be quite cool if they sort of did a little loop round to that. But obviously they didn't do that. But hey, what it could be. It could be early Mara.
We the Mara is part of the mix, so you never know. We'll see. We'll see if the Mara crops up at some point.
Who's to say that ship didn't go to Diva Loca or the other place, Manusa, later on? That could have been it. This could be the start of the whole Manusan Empire. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
That's my.
That's the headcanon.
That's my headcanon. Yeah.
So they do the thing with the mercury, and we don't see it, which I thought was the point, but that was fine. And it releases Alice. They all run to the escape pod. It's that, again, a classic contrivance of we can only fit 6 people in. Well, at least just establish that earlier, which I suppose is nice.
Yeah.
And outside the airlock, the thing catches up with them, but we don't know who it's attached to, which I thought was a nice little tense moment, because also you're left with I guess the characters that have had the most screen time, but also by virtue of their performance, the strongest of the troopers there, with the troop leader and with Mo and Belle.
Yeah. Well,
when
Alice and the other 2 troopers go into the lift, the lift says that there are 4 entities in there, but only 3 people have gone in. So
nice.
Is there more than one creature?
Well, I mean, that is established, isn't it? By the end of the story, there is a possibility that is the case, which is super cool.
Yeah, very good.
So it's attached to Belle. It's whispering to her. The Doctor offers himself to it. That great shift behind Belle's shoulder. The troop leader says that she can shoot Belle and take on the thing herself. So I guess what she did was shoot in a gap above the heart that went straight through to the back, hit no other major organs, muscles, or arteries. Isn't it like Star Wars logic? Is it would have like cauterized the inside anyway, so she was probably fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I love how readily the Doctor was like, all right, shoot her. You know, it was just like, rather than going, no, babes, don't worry, I'll take this on. I can do this. I'm not gonna put you in danger like that. He's like if you have to.
I'm all out of idea. All about out of ideas for this one.
I'm not letting you shoot me. I fucking love this.
I was gonna say, dear. Yeah, no, it was that was great.
This stuff never springs back.
Yeah, it's all going back. It's all going back to Red Dwarf.
It's very Red Dwarf, isn't it?
It's a very It's a very serious Red Dwarf story. That was all good, and then all of the stuff with her running down to the well to throw herself in it. I could have done without the sort of mawkish...
The monologue.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
I've been running since I was a little girl in the wildlands. I've been running all my life, and I'm here to protect you all, and I'm gonna sign out now by chucking myself down this great big hole. Farewell.
T-father.
T-father.
I was almost expecting a little X-ray laser gun blast to fly past her, because it kind of reminded me a lot of this episode of Waters of Mars.
Yeah.
And then I just thought of the Dalek flashback in that, and given that we had a flashback with the main sort of, is it Susie Costello? No, Susie Costello's in Torchwood. What's the name of the character in the Waters of Mars? Leslie Flimflam. I can't remember. Whatever. Anyway. She gets her sort of like her mawkish flashback moment with the Dalek, and I sort of thought we might see a little what's caused all of this to go on her home planet? Why is she running? But it didn't go down that far, which is probably for the best, to be honest. So she sends the thing back down to the pit, or so we think. Belle wakes up in the TARDIS. We get a little acknowledgement that they have never heard of Earth and what's going on there, what's happened to the Earth. Mo is back in the space shuttle. She's reporting to Mrs. Flood, who asks if the Doctor had a Vindicator with him. And then the cliffhanger ending, is there or is there not something over Mo's shoulder?
Yeah.
Did it get away? I love the cut to black. I thought that was ace.
Yeah.
And that was that. I have to say, I've definitely had a more positive reaction talking through it than I did immediately after watching it. I thought it was great, but obviously, like I said, it wasn't the optimum viewing experience for me. So by the end, I was left feeling a little bit empty. It obviously doesn't hold a candle to Midnight, but what does?
Yeah.
And it's great within its own right.
There was, again, sort of talking about the psychological angle. I think there was an opportunity, really, like, especially in that last moment, for obviously they made a very clear point of, okay, if you have this thing on your back, you do, because you can hear it whispering in your ear. But it was almost kind of a shame, like, they could, especially because there was the sort of bait and switch of like, it's not It's not on her. Is it on her or is it on someone else? Or I think they
Yes.
could have had that moment of like, well, none of them really knows, kind of like The Thing. None of them really knows who's got it, and maybe she thinks she's got it, and she goes and kills herself for no reason, and then we have the dramatic reveal at the end of like, fuck, she was fine, she never had it. It was on her all along.
Well, I guess apart from the lift kind of teaser, there's no indication that she definitely had it apart from the vroom.
Yeah.
But then even in that case, that thing could have passed through her and then gone into the lift in that moment. Maybe she never had it on her, and we had that. I've been running all my life for no reason whatsoever. She's just like, let me have my moment. No, it's honestly, it's fine. It's not on you. I must run and reminisce in slow motion. I love that there was some impactful deaths, like we said earlier. Ncuti was fantastic. Virada Sethu continues to be great as well. For me, the main kind of slump of the shoulders was the flinging around, but that is such a minor gripe to have with a really, really, really strong episode, and one that I think is going to age very, very well because it's classic Doctor Who. It's a returning villain. It adds a new dimension to an old character while not detracting from anything else. Can't really ask for more than that, can you?
No, you can't. Yeah, it's going well. I gotta say, I finished it today and I was like, oh, it's nice to be able to watch Doctor Who and come out the other end going like, I liked that.
I liked that. We say that every year. Isn't it nice to like not be moaning about Doctor Who every week?
It's great.
Let's have a look and see what people thought on the old interwebs. JR 1991 Doctor Who photography, amazing episode, had me on the edge of my seat. The sequel we didn't know we needed. Jack Bennett, bear in mind Midnight is my favorite episode of the show. The Well still absolutely blew me away. Wow, they did it so well. James Sando, this season keeps getting better and better with each episode. Wow, what a deliciously tense, dramatic episode. Despite being a sequel, it doesn't retread old ground for very long and does something new, but just as scary with its villain this time around. Will be Fat Boy. From what I'd heard the leaks, I was worried it was going to ruin the magic of Midnight, but we still kept the mystery. Bloody amazing. The Northern Dalek, honestly, I think it's a solid sequel to Midnight without giving away any of the mystery about what the thing is. The episode had genuine jump scares that got me, which Doctor Who hasn't done for a while, really. I suppose once you've had the Weeping Angels, you can't really do a traditional jump scare in the same way. It had a real creepy, tense feel throughout, and the ending left the way it was with those two characters starting to get paranoid is brilliantly done. Everyone again on top form. The reveal of the planet was really well done. I had such a huge grin on my face despite knowing what the episode was a sequel to. I haven't got any real complaints. But last time we went on Blue Sky, there were some complaints. So let's have a look and see what the miserable people on Blue Sky have to say about this episode of Doctor Who. It was fine, a perfectly cromulent Doctor Who, but probably the weakest of the era for me so far. They're coming through. They're coming through.
I can't believe it.
Start, where the Doctor and Belinda do the dress-up run again, and are somehow wearing the exact same spacesuits as the Marines. Seriously, what the fuck? It was a solid episode. Don't know if I prefer it to Lux yet, but as a sequel to Midnight, I would say it stuck the landing. The Great Healer, it was not quite terrifying, but I could certainly see terrifying from where it was. Tense and atmospheric, one of Ncuti's strongest episodes so far. Lazarus, it was better than most of last season's episodes, but the jump scares seemed both oddly too subtle and overdone musically. I think it would have been better as a Base Under Siege two-parter. Also, I think Belinda works way better as a companion than Ruby. I used to think the most important character in the show is the Doctor, but clearly it's the companion that can make or break a series, at least for me.
Yeah, I was thinking this. I was like, I wonder, because I liked Ruby. I thought Ruby was great. I liked Ruby last year. So I hope that now that everyone absolutely loves, it seems like across the board, everyone adores Belinda. I do hope that people aren't going to go back and say, oh, well, the last series didn't work because of Ruby. Do you know what I mean?
No, no. I don't think that would be fair. And a companion. I mean, having said that, most of the 80s is solid for me because I don't like anyone that's traveling on the TARDIS.
Right, yeah.
So, but that's not to take away from anyone's performance.
No.
But I see what they're saying.
Yeah. I just think, yeah, it just so happens that in this case, the dynamic that this character has with the Doctor works better in the Doctor's favor.
Yes.
Because I think otherwise Ruby and the Doctor were pitched too similarly, and it was just
Yeah.
sort of like an echo chamber for just like they said it themselves. They're like, oh, we're like the kids that will always get sent to the back of the class for arsing about. And I think that's probably why I'm starting to enjoy his Doctor a lot more, is because he's having less arson about moments, and he's had more of those grounded moments.
Which is ironic, considering that outfit.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and he made a remark about that, didn't he? About Belinda's mum. He said, "Your mum's gonna whistle at my ass," or not quite in those words.
Right. Don't worry, I'll bring the suit with me, Belinda. So that was The Well. It was bloody well worth a good time. It was bloody well. And then next week is the Dr. Light Lucky Day with the return of Ruby. So very interested to see how that gets handled. There was a clip on Unleashed that I saw where.
Watched it.
So I think the setup is that a young Conrad, I think his name is.
He meets the Doctor and Belinda, doesn't he? In 2007. All the way back then. God dear.
Oh, God, Kim. I was speaking to a lad, I don't know if he's watching today, who was doing some... Oh, shut up. He was doing his uni dissertation, and he was asking me some questions about Doctor Who. And he said, so I was born in 2004. I was like, pardon?
Oh. Yeah,
and he was like, so my first Doctor was halfway through Matt Smith run, so I missed Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. I was like, fucking hell, Christ alive.
Old. I feel like
we have this
old man
Conrad guy who seems to be quite central to the rest of this season.
Yes, he comes back later on, doesn't he?
Yeah, with the Doctor and Belinda in 2007, and then in the future he's hosting a podcast. He gets close with Ruby. And the clip to me seems to suggest they're having a conversation.
Sounds like this is your dream.
What?
I host a podcast. Yeah.
Oh dear. And yeah, so it's unit related, isn't it? This one, it's unit needs to answer for their
keeping aliens in the basement or something,
shady secrecy or something like that. Yeah, and maybe Ruby gets sort of drawn in by this handsome chap, and he kind of takes advantage of her knowledge of all this sort of stuff. And there's a little bit of like
takes advantage of her knowledge. There's a moment there. Do you think we'll see any monsters from the old days in like Unit Cellar?
I'd love to. I mean, it would be a great excuse to have something like that pop up. Is this the Peak McTighe story?
It is. So
okay.
I've not enjoyed any of his episodes in the past. Well, Kablam was fine, but I didn't like that one with the plastic. Praxeus. Which was set in Brazil, and Annie is obviously from Brazil and speaks Portuguese, and apparently when her and her brother watched that episode, they wet themselves at the like ridiculously shit Portuguese that was like scripted. It was like apparently so generic and like a robot. It was like someone had gone into Google Translate and been like,
God,
how does this? What would you say? This could be the one where it might just pull me back from my enjoyment. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm interested to see how they tackle, the sort of podcast generation and the conspiracy brain thing, because I think that seems to be the main thrust of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying Conrad is going to be Alex Jones, InfoWars, they turned the freaking Silurians gay, all over this thing. But, there is a possibility there's going to be a slight politically charged element to that.
Yes.
So I'd be very interested to see how that develops. And the monsters look cool.
The monsters do look cool, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think we've had something spoiled of their kind of revelation and their
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, I'm still excited for next week because it's been a hell of a run so far. Even with the robot revolution, I thought was good fun. So let's keep this trainer rolling.
Got a few little comments here before. Well, I'll just shout out to Macra for his very generous super chat.
Wow, thanks.
Macra says, fantastic episode. I felt like it was probably the best sequel to Midnight they could have done. And season 2 is going very well so far. Fingers crossed that it keeps that up. Definitely. But a few little things. Gordon said, did you like Pete McTeague's mini-sodes for the collection box sets? Yes, I did. I love his mini-sode things. I've just not been sold on the actual proper stories.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And he's clearly a big fan. So maybe that does help lead credence to the idea that we might have some cool unit references next week.
Some cool shit. And then Friendly Otaku said, to be fair, Praxius was a co-write with Chris Chibnall, so maybe that's where it all went wrong.
Maybe he's absolved of blame there. I like Praxius. I like Praxius.
Couldn't
Every time that you sigh with
it goes on a spreadsheet.
Episode, it goes on a fucking spreadsheet, and I've got it open right now, so just watch it.
No, I really love Praxius. Dear. So maybe we'll see some monsters. What monsters could we see potentially? It can't be anything like big, like a Dalek, because obviously
no.
unit can't house a Dalek. But or maybe a Cyberman, maybe
like a bit of a Cyberman helmet, maybe like a smashed Nestine energy unit, maybe like a plant pot, and they're like, "What's that?" It's a crinoid. Don't ask about it.
Don't try.
But it's just a little dead weed hanging out of a plant pot in a big box.
Or a cactus, and there's like, "Oh, that's Megalos. Don't talk to him."
Yeah, he'll turn you prickly.
He'll turn you prickly.
He's a prick, that one. What else? I mean,
Conrad H has said they should have a gel guard.
Gel guard,
Slovene. Someone said.
Reese
Johnson said Slovene.
A mawkish little moment with a swagger stick and a fucking cap for the Brigadier at some point, or just a mustache.
I was just about to say a mustache in a frame. What's that about? It's my dad's mustache.
Wow, that's amazing. How did you? It's literally his mustache.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It's what I do with my dad.
When the Cybermen dug him
I put it on every November.
It was all that was left of him.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, there we go. I guess. Anything else to add to this great story?
No, nothing else. Just
Bessie. Andrew Lewis said Bessie. Bessie should be in there.
Bessie,
we should see Bessie or the Whomobile. That's around. Bok. Adam Dakin said Bok.
I'll take a Bok. Bok. The Reverend Magister's dog collar. Those great massive bloody
specs, Ronnie Corbett glasses.
Ronnie Corbett specs.
The evil Dalek says a giant spider and a maggot.
Maybe the crystal. Maybe a Metabulus crystal. That's just a nice little thing that could sit in the background and nobody pays attention to.
Yeah.
John Levine, like Hannibal Lecter. Who's he? He thinks he's Sergeant Benton.
Don't get too close. He'll start talking to you about murdering paedophiles and Tories.
Oh God, we'll have him on the podcast one day. We'll invite him over for tea when I'm back in Bristol.
Oh, do you know what? We watched his In Conversation. It was really, really good, and we said, "Oh, love to just do a drive to Salisbury and just knock on his door and say, hello, we're mad Doctor Who fans. Let's go and have a cup of tea." And we were like, nice. He'd probably say yeah.
I just saw a great little comment here. Andrew Lewis, the gold tooth. Could we see the gold tooth of the toy makers in the unit lockup?
That apparently houses the master, isn't it? That's the master is in that tooth.
And also, do you think we're going to see a reference to the war between the land and the sea? Because I guess if unit are up to something shady, then that could drip into the spin-off. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw a fishnet floating around in bubbly water.
Uh,
Um,
Huddled Urchin says an axon in a t-shirt, or maybe it should just be a plate of spaghetti. And I don't get too close. That's an axon.
with two gold ping pong balls just lying in it like eyes. Yeah. We'll go for that. So yeah, next week, Lucky Day. We'll let you guys know when we're streaming that. Might be Sunday, might be Saturday, but we'll keep you all in the loop.
Yep.
Also, so that's the 4th of May in theory, or it's next weekend. 8th of May, we've got a new commentary coming out on Patreon, which we recorded the other day.
Yeah.
Which is Auton, the first of the BBV trilogy, which was not very good, but you know, we had a laugh. We had a good time anyway.
If you want to hear me talking like Papa Lazarou every time Reece Shearsmith appears on screen, then you know where to go.
Plenty of League of Gentlemen references in that one, and we've got more commentaries coming up as well towards the end of the run of this series. And then at that point, Matt and I will start planning for what we're going to do when I'm back in the UK and what we're going to start shooting.
My God.
So
crazy.
That's something to look forward to, sort of July, August time. But yes, keep your peepers peeled on the Review of Death Patreon for any updates and any new content, and then obviously all the social media spots as well.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you everybody for joining us as always. Thank you for everyone with the super chats. And
thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you next time for more of the same. Oh, you've disappeared because I flicked Windows. I need to work out a better way of doing that. But yeah, thank you all for watching. And we'll see you all next time for Lucky Day. Or maybe it'll be our unlucky day. Who knows? But hopefully it'll be a lucky day for all. So see you all soon.